Have you ever heard your own voice calling for help when you weren't the one speaking? Imagine stepping into a place so eerie, so untouched by time, that even silence feels alive, waiting, watching. Tonight, we're taking you to a graveyard where whispers rise from the ground, where the dead seem to borrow the living's voices, and where one team's search for answers turned into a nightmare they could never escape. But before you look away, let me warn you. What you're about to hear could haunt you long after this episode ends. Stay with us, because the mystery isn't just in the graveyard. It might already be closer than you think. This is the echoed graveyard. The graveyard lay forgotten in a small town whose residents refused to speak of it. Overgrown, barely visible under layers of moss and tangled branches, it was a place lost to time. Legends said voices could be heard there, soft, sorrowful murmurs, as if from deep within the earth. It was the perfect setup for Ron, Casey, and Liam, a team of seasoned paranormal investigators looking to capture something groundbreaking. Casey, whispering. Do you guys hear that? It's so quiet, like beyond quiet. Even the birds don't sing here. Ron, chuckling, perfect for recording. Just imagine what we might catch tonight. They set up their equipment, high-sensitivity microphones, EMF detectors, thermal cameras. Everything was in place, and as the sun dipped below the horizon, they began to record. For hours, there was only silence, and then a faint sound. At first it was barely audible, a whisper, something that could have been mistaken for the wind. But as they listened through their headphones, the whispers grew clearer, and the words seemed familiar. Liam, whispering, That sounded like me. I swear I just heard my own voice. Casey, nervously laughing, Must be the equipment, right? I mean, maybe it's just some kind of feedback. But Ron replayed the recording, and sure enough, there it was. A plea, desperate and shuddering, spoken in Liam's voice. Help! I'm trapped. Underground. The words were unmistakable, even as Liam denied saying them. Liam, shaken. No way. That's not me. I never said that. I haven't even left this spot. They laughed it off, dismissing it as some technical glitch, but each of them felt the chill. Something was wrong. Still, they pressed on, adjusting their equipment, determined to catch something even stranger. As the hours wore on, the recordings continued to pick up sounds, but now the whispers were different. They weren't just asking for help, they were speaking directly to the team. Ron, don't leave us here. You belong here. Ron, frustrated. All right, who's messing with the equipment? This isn't funny. Casey, voice shaking. Ron, it's not us. That's your voice, but you didn't say that. None of us did. As they replayed the recordings, Ron could hear his own voice speaking words he'd never said, in tones that made his blood run cold. And Casey. Her voice appeared too, pleading, her words twisted into languages she didn't know. The voice used her tone, her inflections, but it spoke words that weren't hers, words that sounded like ancient pleas, begging for release. Night stretched into early morning, and the atmosphere grew thicker, heavier. They tried to brush it off, tried to convince themselves it was just faulty equipment. But every time they played back a recording, they heard their own voices, twisted, desperate, speaking words that clawed at their sanity. Liam, muttering, We need to leave. This isn't right. I don't care if we're missing a story. We need to go. Now. But as they gathered their things, one last recording started on its own. This time it was Ron's voice again, clearer than before, almost as if he were standing right there beside himself. Ron's voice on recorder. Stay with us, Ron. This is your place now. Ron froze. There was something in the tone that sent a shiver down his spine. It wasn't just a plea. It was a command, a sentence, like something had bound him to that spot. He looked around, and for a brief moment he felt the weight of countless unseen eyes watching, waiting. Panic took over, and they fled, stumbling over tombstones and tangled roots, desperate to escape the graveyard. But as they reached the car, something strange happened. None of them could speak. Their voices, their ability to make sound, was gone. They clutched their throats, struggling, but only silence escaped. They sat in horrified silence, looking at each other, each of them mouthing words that couldn't be heard. And then, as if by some unseen force, they each felt a compulsion to press play on their recording devices. The static cleared, and then their own voices began speaking. Ron's recorded voice. "Help us. Help us. We're trapped here." Casey's recorded voice. "Please, we can't leave. Let us out." Liam's recorded voice. "Stay. Stay with us forever." The recordings echoed through the car, each of their voices pleading for release, each voice sounding like a ghost of their former selves. And as they listened, they felt a sinister, creeping realization. Their voices were gone, stolen by whatever haunted the graveyard, leaving them with only these fragments, these desperate cries recorded in the dead of night. In the weeks that followed, each member of the team found themselves haunted by the recordings. Wherever they went, the sounds of their own voices would play back to them, sometimes from strangers' phones, from passing cars, even from their own thoughts, as if the voices had latched onto their very minds. "We're trapped here. Stay with us. You belong to us now." And then their voices started to change. They could no longer speak normally. Every word, every sentence they tried to say would come out twisted, as if the words from the recordings were taking over, replacing their own thoughts, their own expressions. Bit by bit they found themselves speaking only in the fragmented words of the graveyard, unable to control the eerie language that now seemed to own them. Casey's voice, distorted. "Help. Please. Don't leave us." Liam's voice, echoing, mechanical. "Stay. Forever. This is where you belong." They say the dead have no voice. But what if, just what if in some places they find a way to use ours? Remember, some mysteries aren't meant to be solved. Some places are better left alone. Because in the end, we may find that we, too, are bound to the echoes of the past. So, what do you think? Could you resist opening the Dread file? Or would curiosity pull you in like it did Detective Grayson? I'd love to hear your thoughts. What would you do in his shoes? Drop a comment below, and let's keep the conversation going. And hey, if you enjoyed unraveling this mystery with me, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to make sure you never miss another chilling tale. Give this episode a thumbs up if it sent shivers down your spine, and share it with someone who loves a good mystery. Until next time, keep your eyes open and your doors locked. See you soon in the shadows of the Dread Files.